presence I've not felt since.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 2 of the newly established Fresh Nerds Galore. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Star Wars Gazer. Below me is our other host, Wrath of Mandalore. Yo, his first weekend. What's up, dude?
How we doing, boys?
Yeah, there it is. And then our other co-host, Mr. Jungle Jedi. He was here with me last week. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. Glad to be here. I'm a little short on vocal cords. My voice is kind of half gone, but
Oh no, what have you
I'm
been doing?
here.
Screaming?
Yeah, we won't talk about it.
Ben's
Okay.
singing Alicia Keys on his whatnot stream.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
you're not supposed to tell people that.
Joining us today, you guys, appreciate all four of you already in here. Joining us today is our good friend. I can't believe we get to say that. It was a pleasure meeting him at Denver Fan Expo, Mr. Joe Corroney. How are you tonight, sir?
Hey, everyone. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being on our show. It's a great honor and privilege. Yeah, we got to meet you at Denver Fan Expo. It was funny. I think it was the second day, I think it was. And me,
Yeah.
Jungle, and BP were just walking around like, let's see something that we maybe wouldn't see. And so we were just kind of chilling, man, just browsing. And we came across you and your table and your art. That is crazy. And you've been doing it for quite a while now.
Yeah, I mean, almost 30 years. I think I started in like 96 with my first Star Wars project, first like official licensed work for Lucasfilm.
Dang, that's crazy. Dude, you've been doing it for almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah.
Like, that is wild.
I know, isn't it crazy?
That's crazy. All right, so we like to start off with some like simple questions to break the ice. Every time we do these, we like to just break the ice. So we'll start with this. Favorite Star Wars movie?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's easy for me. It's not really controversial, but it would be 1977, A New Hope.
Okay.
Even though I recognize Empire Strikes Back as the most superior Star Wars film ever made, it's better acting, better writing, better, everything's better, better lighting, even better cinematography. But Star Wars 77, I saw that when I was, barely 4 years old, not even yet, just shy of my 4th birthday. And
Wow.
that blew my mind,
Yeah.
to be that young and to experience something that revolutionary.
Yeah.
Even as a little kid, like I had never seen anything like it. And even after that, I mean, there was nothing like it. So
Yeah.
the first Star Wars film is definitely my favorite.
That's wild to me because, like, for me, like, I don't remember anything when I was 5, 6 years old or less, But the one thing I do remember is when I was 5, the first movie I ever saw in theaters was The Phantom Menace. And I remember that like night and day, man.
Right.
And for you to say that you were barely not even 4 years old,
Yeah,
right? Who remembers when they're 3 years old, anything from that time, yet you remember seeing Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I have vivid memories of indelible images from that film, like the Jawas, shooting R2-D2 and popping out of the valley in the cracks. I remember them thinking, and it was funny because I was already familiar with some of the characters before I had seen the movie. I guess just from other media or maybe like television. There were, I don't know. I remember thinking like I was so excited to see Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Going into seeing Star Wars, I remember that, and I thought the Jawas were going to be Chewbacca, like hiding in the cave. So yeah, I have vivid memory. I have my first memory of Darth Vader. I mean, I was so scared when he walked out of that smoke on the blockade runner. My little child brain couldn't comprehend what he was. I thought he was like a demonic robot. Like I didn't think there was a person in there. I thought it was like a robot demon of some kind.
Yeah.
And I remember being so scared. I hunkered down behind the seats in front of me, and I was peeking through the cracks of the seats watching that scene. Darth
Dang.
Vader, coming through the smoke and the stormtroopers, and so yeah, I have very vivid memories of that movie.
Shout out to your parents, dude.
Right? Man,
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it now, yeah. I mean, he's an amazing Joe, you're an amazing artist, and like obviously that put you on the track to becoming a Star Wars artist. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
huge shout out to your parents.
Oh yeah, my parents made me into the pop culture geek that I am today for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely that fascination with Darth Vader. Like I was so frightened of him as a little kid. But of course that I saw Star Wars again and again, and that that fear went away. But it was replaced with like a fascination with the character and with the movie too. But I mean, I loved Darth Vader as a little kid, like growing up and wanting to draw him, and maybe it was a way of processing my trauma of being scared of him. But
Yeah, that's so cool. Like, so I'm assuming then from what you've said that like Star Wars and stuff were your parents pretty big nerds too? Like, were they all into like the sci-fi and stuff like that? Or
my dad kind of was. I mean, they both. I guess my mom was more nurturing and supportive of my, comic book and cartoon habits, and definitely my art habit. Like when she knew I liked drawing, she really encouraged that. My dad definitely is responsible for making me like the movie geek I am, because like we would go to the movies like every weekend, sometimes twice a week growing up. He loved watching cartoons with me. He took me to the comic book store every week. But I mean, he wasn't like as like super into it, but he knew like it was a way for us to connect, and he knew that I enjoyed these comic books and cartoons and all this stuff. So yeah, like I mean, we would bond over that stuff. Like he did love Star Wars, he did love Indiana Jones, and we grew up watching like Star Trek reruns, every Sunday as a little kid. So
yeah, absolutely, that's sick. So who would you say is your favorite Star Wars character then? Would it be Vader?
Darth Vader for sure, just because like I was fascinated with him as a little kid, and then even though like the classic trilogy is Luke's story, it's also Darth Vader's story in a way too as well. And then of course we get the prequels, 20 years later in between trilogies. I'm in college and the prequels come out, and or actually right after college, I guess, but a few years after. But yeah, so like seeing the rest of Darth Vader's story in the prequels, and that getting that fuller picture of the character, and like we knew we knew Anakin became Darth Vader, but we never knew exactly how and why that went down. So
yeah,
getting all that in the prequels was really great. And also Boba Fett's probably my other, because again, that's growing up with Boba Fett. He was such a mysterious character. People forget, I think, that when the prequels came out, I mean, before the prequels, you didn't have much on Boba that was like really official or canon. He was so like this enigma of a character. And as a little kid, after the first Star Wars film, you get introduced to this brand new bad guy. The hype going into Empire Strikes Back in 1979. I mean, it's not really any different like it is now. Like they had an action figure of him before the movie even came out. So like as kids, we were like, oh my God, who's this character? So I grew up being, fascinated with Boba Fett. And then of course the prequels come out 20 years later, and they kind of demystify him. And so a lot of people think it's like cliche to call Boba Fett your favorite character. But when you're my generation and you're growing up with the character, and before we find out all of his backstory, and I still love the character, even if Book of Boba Fett kind of did him dirty a bit, but he's still a great character to me.
That's awesome.
I still like stuff that happens in Book of Boba Fett as well, even though
me too. I mean, it's not all,
yeah.
And I feel like I get that too, because it's like back then, when you guys were seeing all this stuff for the first time, like you didn't have the legend stuff and all that, the backstory stuff that like wasn't official created even yet. So
yeah. I mean, it was cool to watch that. I mean, also to be a part of it over the course of my career, in just small ways or slightly removed ways, but also in official ways, to be part of that mythology as it unfolded, just in my career as an illustrator, getting to contribute to the, now it's Legends, but back when I was working on it, and I'm still working on it more in a licensing format, but being part of publishing and illustrating short stories and coming up with characters and getting to contribute ideas to things that became part of, not like I say that again, this is really small. It's not like, huge contributions necessarily, but just getting to be a part of that mythology as it was developing was really fun.
Check out some of the chat here. We got some people in here. Nintendoberg.
Yeah, that's Liam.
I love it. Says this is going to be W. Hey, John Go Fett says he knows you. What's up, John Go?
Yeah, that's John. Yeah, what's up, John Go Fett?
It says cool to see y'all know each other. Hope you're doing well, Joe.
Yep.
Nintendo says, "Woo! I know him." We got Clone Force in here. How you doing?
Clone Force, the legend.
Jeff Wedding says 30 years. I call nonsense.
He's giving me a hard. He's one of my oldest friends. He's giving me a hard time.
Shout out to everyone's parents but mine. Clone Force. Jeez, Wrath is fighting his spider.
Nah, they've multiplied. There's a Black Widow up top, and then there's 2 wolf spiders on the wall. So.
Clone Force thinks that the prequels actually harmed Boba's character. He said being a clone made him less cool.
I mean,
I don't think it did, but
everyone's got their opinion. I mean, I understand, like, it's not the Boba Fett necessarily we all maybe in our head canon or our imaginations we thought, but I was totally fine with it when it came out at the time. Getting to see a young Boba Fett, and especially the path they took him on in the Clone Wars after. I mean,
yeah, that's crazy. And now Ewan McGregor and Tamara Morrison have a signing together now.
Yeah, in Boston.
They're pairing up now. It's crazy.
Yeah, that'd be a cool.
Had to be the same week as Rebel Scum Con, man.
Right?
That's right. It's the same weekend as Rebel Scum.
Yep. So what would you say is your favorite? Okay, I'm gonna say Star Wars show, but I want to divide it up because what's your favorite animation TV show and what's your favorite live action Star Wars show?
I mean, I have so many friends, and I love Star Wars Rebels. Like, I love Rebels. It's probably it's right up there with me with Clone Wars for me. But Clone Wars kind of edges it out for me just because I think they're both incredible shows. Lucasfilm animation is like always fire. There's like never a miss on any of their series. And I love Rebels so much, but Clone Wars, maybe it's just because it does so much heavy lifting for the prequel trilogy, and it adds so much to the overall mythology. Yeah, especially with the Force, and I mean, Rebels does that too, actually, with like World Between Worlds. But
does it a lot.
I mean, Clone Wars just, I don't know, like it does start out the first couple seasons very kid friendly, but it just gets so dramatic and mature even very quickly as it goes on. Yeah. And that last season of Clone Wars is just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, so I love Clone Wars, but I would say that edges out Rebels for me just a little bit. Live action, I mean, can you beat Andor season 2 right now? I mean, that's like, I loved Andor. I mean, Andor was so good. I mean, I know it's mature Star Wars. It's not the whimsy Star Wars that George Lucas, that a lot of fans are used to, where it's more kid oriented. And I love that Star Wars too. I love that kind of storytelling. The storytelling has more of the whimsy and the kid friendly, but Andor also, I don't know. It's just it's
so good.
It was so good. I loved it so much, especially season 2. Beyond that, I would say, I'm a big fan of Ahsoka season 1. Even if it's a little rough in spots, but I love those characters. I love seeing the Rebels characters in live action.
Same.
Yeah.
So I mean, Andor probably beats out Ahsoka season 1 for me, but I mean, they're different kinds of Star Wars. So
yeah, and not all Star Wars is for everyone. For me, I like the last 6 episodes of season 2, but other than that, like season 1 leading into season 2.
It's
Up
a
until
slow
that
burn.
point, I wasn't for me. I'm more of the other side where I like the whimsy, like the
Mhm.
fast pace, like
Yeah,
action to action to action kind of
yeah,
George Lucas Star Wars.
right, right. It
Um,
is. There's different. I mean, even things like, even though the Acolyte wasn't perfect by any means, I mean, there were things about it I still really liked. And yeah, I would have liked it to have been better or different. But like you said, there's different Star Wars. I love the Stranger character. I wanted more of,
yeah,
you know, of that character and his backstory,
yeah,
and Darth Plagueis. I was like, oh, right at the end, it's like, come on.
yeah,
Uh, but
yeah,
yeah, so I mean, there's bits and pieces I can pull out of things. I mean, I love all of it in general. I mean, there's nothing that really upsets me about. I'm just such a fan that I tend to be, I tend to love it all, and I can be forgiving of some things. But
yeah, absolutely. That's great. So, as we're talking about your journey, obviously you talked already a little bit about kind of how you got your start. There's a lot of connection with your dad and your mom, realizing you like to draw, taking you to the comic book store. When in your life did you start to realize, like, oh man, I could make this a thing, like I could make this happen and make this a career?
I mean, it didn't really. I guess I didn't. I don't know. I mean, probably. I mean, I guess early on as a kid, like I knew I wanted to be. When everyone asks you as a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, right?
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to draw comic books. I wanted to make artwork that was fun. I knew that as a little kid, but I didn't really think about it seriously that I could do it for a living until, I mean, it was probably even high school, like my junior, senior year of well, probably even before then, because I knew I was going to art college. So, I mean, I don't know if I ever even felt like I had a choice. I never thought like, oh, I can't be an artist. I just always knew that I was going to be one somehow, no matter what.
Yeah.
So even early in high school, I knew I was going to go to art college. Like that was sort of a plan for me that I even wanted. Like that was like, yeah, I want to go to art school and be a better artist. But I guess once I got to art college, I knew that I had to get published as soon as possible. Like I knew, like, I just needed to get my artwork out there and get published. So I was already looking, even though I was in school doing my art projects, full time, I was looking for freelance work. So I started getting published in comics when I was around 19, doing independent comics. I mean, I wasn't making hardly anything, if anything at all sometimes, but I knew it was most important for me to get my artwork out there and to get published. So by the time I graduated, I already had professional work, and I could say I'd been published, and I had a portfolio that had, at the time, decent work and stuff. So I knew right out of college, I could try to find like an art career somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it went. Like it was always kind of, in my mind, it was sort of predestined, even at an early age. Like I knew I loved comic books growing up as a kid. And that's also because of Star Wars, because my first comics were the Marvel Comics adaptation of Star Wars that they did. So those were my first comic books my mom got me after we'd seen the movie. So I knew like I wanted to do comics. And then once I got to college, I was like, well, whatever Star Wars work I could find, this is pre-special edition. There wasn't anything happening with Star Wars really. So
Yeah.
But other than West End Games, which I was a fan of those books, which was the old role-playing game. I'd been collecting those books. So that was how I got in. I basically sent my work to that publisher because it was them or Dark Horse. And I was sending stuff to Dark Horse at the time, but I wasn't good enough yet. But West End Games responded and said, hey, we like your artwork. Do you want to draw Star Wars for us for our gaming books? And this was like 96.
Okay.
So, and then, of course, a year later, the special editions came out and Star Wars blew up all over again. But I was already kind of in the pipeline for that.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So take us a little bit more in depth on that, because I was going to ask, like, you start doing these like this freelance work, you get involved with Weston, and then like when was that transition? I mean, you're doing Star Wars stuff, but when you really started doing like heavy Star Wars, real licensing, like all of that.
Yeah, I mean, the West End Games stuff was definitely real licensing, and it was getting published, and the books were like gaming books. It was like Dungeons and Dragons, but for Star Wars. So it was books you could go to the bookstore and buy and, seek online, or this is pre-internet even, but you could, order or whatever. But when it started getting really busy, I mean, 97, the special editions came out, and that Star Wars nostalgia really blew up. And within a few years of that, I mean, you had 2 years later, you had the prequels with the Phantom Menace coming out in 99. And I would say it was around 99, 2000 when I started getting more, I guess, Star Wars projects. It was really with Star Wars Insider, I would say, that they kept me pretty busy from month to month illustrating different short stories and articles and different features in the magazine that required art. So I was doing a lot of work for Star Wars Insider, but then I also started doing stuff for the Wizards of the Coast, got the Star Wars license for the role-playing game around that time. So I started doing stuff for them. And then around that same time, Lucasfilm hired me to do artwork for HoloNetNews.com, which was like an in-universe, like CNN type news site, but set in the Star Wars world. But it was a viral website that they used to sort of promote Attack of the Clones, which was coming out in 2002. So that previous year, I was working on artwork for that. And so I had a lot of projects all sort of coming in. I mean, I was doing other things too, like other companies, like other kinds of properties. I was drawing like a comic book for Marvel at the time. So, but that was my early career right there. But things kind of just took off pretty quickly.
Yeah. So what was it like getting that call from Lucasfilm, or that ask from Lucasfilm?
For like HoloNet News and doing
I mean, because you see Lucasfilm and you're like, whoa, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's funny because a friend of mine, Pablo Hidalgo, was already, so he was a writer for the West End Games Star Wars role-playing game books. So I was already familiar with Pablo, and we knew each other from that. And then, of course, he ends up getting hired by Lucasfilm as like their content creator for StarWars.com, probably around 1998, 99. So we were friends online at that point, and we knew each other. So Pablo it was exciting. Yeah, but it's like getting a call from your friend who's already in the company going, hey, we want to hire you to do this stuff. So
yeah.
So it was exciting for sure. I was like, that's cool. They were actually going to fly me out to Lucasfilm to visit, and we were gonna I was gonna get to see all the all this artwork and images from episode 2, which hadn't been released yet, and I was gonna get to read a little bit of the story and stuff. But then this was around September, and then 9/11 happened, and then they decided not to fly anyone out anywhere. Yeah, so I ended up not getting to Lucasfilm to visit until years later, but that would have been my first visit there.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What was
how history changed that?
Right? I know the small things in the story that could have changed direction, right?
I mean, but luckily with those were the early days of the internet, so we could just work online anyway. So, I mean, I would have gotten to go to Lucasfilm and visit and see all this cool stuff. I ended up seeing it all eventually. Like, they sent me everything I needed to see. But
yeah. Do you ever end up meeting George ever?
Not exactly. I've been in the same room where he's been.
Dang.
Unfortunately, I've never gotten to say hi to him, but we have been near each other, I would say.
That's cool. So as you've been working on Star Wars art for the last 30 years, you were talking about Attack of the Clones. Then 2003, someone brought it up here. Your friend here brought up, 2003 Grievous, my goat. General Grievous. So talk about that, because that's why I'm wearing the shirt.
Oh yeah, your Grievous shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that, Grievous. You know, other than
Yeah.
ILM and different things, you were kind of one of the first ones for the Insider to kind of work on that.
Right. So I was the first, according to my friends at Lucasfilm, and this is more or less true. I was the first illustrator to basically do artwork of Grievous in his cinematic form that was revealed to the public in 2000. This would have been January of 2005. Now, I think the Clone Wars micro series, they did have Grievous in that last episode prior to, when did that come out? I can't remember the timing of it. I know it was around that time.
Yeah, it was 2003.
Okay, 2003, right. So, I was the first artist outside of anyone in ILM to do an artwork of General Grievous. In fact, my reference was based on the ILM guys who were doing all the modeling of the character. So basically, Lucasfilm asked me to do a full page illustration. They were going to put it in Star Wars Insider. And Grievous is on the cover of the magazine. That's technically the big reveal. But my artwork inside, which was introducing fans to the story of General Grievous, who was this brand new character that was going to appear in Revenge of the Sith. So, I was the first artist to have artwork of General Grievous out to the public at that time. But you got to remember, he wasn't even in the first trailer for Revenge of the Sith. Like, there's no General Grievous in that trailer. They kept him very secret.
Yeah.
They do that. Every project has its secrets,
Every single one has that like one thing that they don't show.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. They try to
never gets out, like whether they have to make people disappear or not.
I know. It's like back then. I mean, you would think like it's even more secret now, and it is, but like back then it was like stuff. It didn't leak as much back then. I mean, there was definitely like the early days of the Force.net and some of these websites that were doing like spy pictures and reports. But I got to read part of a script to episode 3 before it had even come out because I was working with Dark Horse on some projects. So I'm like, oh my God, like I got to be careful what I say and stuff like that. So yeah, it's you never know.
Yeah, nowadays they just take you on It's a Small World, and after the second pass, you don't come back out.
Never seen again.
Come here,
come on, guys!
It's gonna be a great time.
Oh man! So what's been one of your? I mean, obviously you love all your art, but have there been a few pieces over the years that you've really like connected with on like a deeper level that you're like, these are like really like super meaningful to me, like very
that's a good question. Like I'm always thinking ahead to the next stuff, so I don't tend to look back too often on my art. Like I know I definitely have artwork that is meaningful, like it's more meaningful to fans, like certain pieces that stand out,
right?
That I'll probably be remembered for, right? And those are meaningful to me because they have connected with the fan base, So, there's one at the time I did this piece back in 2005, and it was right after Revenge of the Sith had come out. And it's called The Great Remorse of Darth Vader. And everyone, I think, who at least knows my art personally, they know this artwork I'm referring to, but it's this image of Darth Vader sulking in his meditation chamber, and he's got his hand over, the helmet's off and it's above him, and it's Anakin. It's my artwork of Anakin being tortured, emotionally, and there's a visage of Padme floating behind him in the meditation. Oh yeah, there it is in the meditation chamber. So when I did that artwork, and I did that artwork back in 2005, and it still resonates with fans. When I go to conventions and they see that artwork, people who've never seen it before just, I've seen girls just start sobbing immediately, when they see it, and I always feel terrible about that. But
no, that's great. That's in my opinion, that's exactly what you want. Right. For it to be that
evocative.
Moving. Yeah, it's.
I would say the artwork that I put emotion into tends to be more of my favorite. I mean, I love doing the poster collages and the really cool licensing posters for The Mandalorian or Ahsoka or Book of Boba Fett or whatever it might be. But those are usually just kind of more Struzan kind of poster, licensing poster images where I'm really proud of those and I love doing them. They're really fun, but I love doing storytelling in my art. That's because it comes from my comic book background as an artist. So whenever I get to actually do Star Wars art that tells a story or has emotion in it, those tend to be my favorite. So, I mean, I would say this one for sure.
Yeah, it's
and
incredible.
it really came about just because my editor at Star Wars Insider at the time, they were doing an all Darth Vader issue, and they were like, "We need some Darth Vader art. Do whatever you want, and we just need some really cool full page art." And Revenge of the Sith had just come out, and I wanted to do some artwork that connected the prequel trilogy with the classic trilogy. And before we saw Revenge of the Sith, like, we knew Anakin became Darth Vader, and again, this is because Vader is my favorite character. I would think about him all the time. But we didn't know why he became Vader until we saw Revenge of the Sith. We found, he accidentally killed his wife. Palpatine manipulated him. We see it all revealed. So I was like, if he's in that meditation chamber all the time that we see in Empire Strikes Back, he's isolated in there. What's he doing? What's he thinking about? I'm like, it just hit me. And at the time I did that artwork, I was kind of going through a breakup myself. And I think I was in a really rough place, and I remember drawing that artwork, and just I think what I was feeling at the time just kind of poured through into the art. So I think it kind of has that. It's kind of imbued with that in a way. But I really wanted to do something that tied the trilogies together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and the composition is so cool too. Not just how excellent the piece is, but the way that you laid it out is really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I just love the perspective really low angle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that low angle perspective, and then you've even got up there is the mechanisms and that torture and stuff that he has to suffer through.
I was trying to. It has a lot of emotionality in it, but I was also trying to contrast the organic versus the mechanical, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think all artwork should be about contrast, whether it's graphic artwork, black and white, or color contrast, or thematic contrast even. And in this case, I have the ethereal visage of Padme, which I wanted to be really soft and transparent even almost, but then contrast that with you have the lightness of Padme, the ethereal organic, versus the mechanical nature of Vader and the meditation chamber. So I was trying to think about it from all angles, basically.
Even the colors you have here, the black and white, right? You got black Vader with the black, sitting there in the black seat, and he's got his black helmet. And you have the darker mechanical stuff above him, and then where Padme is this nice interior white. This in a sense the light of his life, right?
Right.
So
exactly, I wanted to do as minimal color as I could, so I kept Vader all in blacks and dark tones, and I really wanted Padme to be the opposite of that, the light of his life, and the dream and to be really bright. So it was contrasting color, it was contrasting theme, it was contrasting graphic lighting. So it was
that's so cool. One of the other pieces I want to talk about, and I have this one personally. I have the one we were just talking about as well, but I love this piece, and I think it'd be cool if I'm gonna pull it up here real quick. I'm just getting it bigger, and let's share. I love this piece. So let's talk about this piece and kind of your inspiration for this piece. Well, I think this piece is so cool.
Thank you. It's a little cropped on the top and bottom, but it gives you the idea. You can see Anakin's mechanical arm is in there too. But basically, there you go. That's the whole thing. yeah, it's the scene from Revenge of the Sith when Anakin is on Mustafar after he's been basically dismantled by Obi-Wan, and he's left for dead on the shores of the lava river. But that piece specifically stemmed out of the first one we just talked about, which was the Great Remorse of Darth Vader. That was the really dramatic title I came up with, that Anakin Padme art, or Vader Padme art. So that one was, even back then, and when I did that art, it was really, popular and powerful at the time. So a few years later, I was like, I want to do something like another in the series of Darth Vader's, origin, essentially. And I actually just had this idea. It was actually inspired by a friend of mine who tossed the idea to me. He's not an artist, but, well, sort of amateur artist. But he's a really good friend of mine. He's like, what would make a really cool illustration would be like the Pieta, the Michelangelo statue of Jesus being held by his mother, and but only do it Anakin and Shmi. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool idea. And I'm not really religious, but there's all the religious allegory in the Star Wars films, whether it's Eastern culture or Western culture or whatever. But there is, obviously, Shmi is the Virgin Mother and Anakin is the chosen one. So it kind of fits the whole, Christian theme of Jesus and Mary. And I thought, well, I'll do another tragic, this one's maybe not as romantic as the Great Remorse of Darth Vader, but I thought, well, I'll do another illustration. It'll be a bit more darker and tragic, but it'll be kind of a complement to that piece. And this is the sorrowful pity of Darth Vader. And the sorrowful pity is what the Pieta, that's what it translates to. And the Pieta is just this Michelangelo carved statue that's very famous of Mary holding Jesus after he comes down from the cross. So I thought, I'll have Anakin, after Obi-Wan leaves him, he's dreaming of his mother, of Shmi. So this is so nerdy here. We're getting so deep.
I love this. This is great.
But she's not really, I didn't want her to be a Force ghost. I mean, even though she has a little bit of a blue outline, I wanted to make her feel more just like, so if you look closely at the illustration, it looks like she's holding him just like Mary's holding Jesus. She's even doing the same gesture with her left hand pointing. That's the Mary statue does that. But if you look closely past Shmi, he's actually laying on some rocks. So it's meant to give the illusion that she's holding him, but I imagine he kind of rolled over, propped himself up on some rocks, maybe right before Palpatine gets there in his shuttle to revive him. But it's more of a, like, just kind of it was a concept that I just couldn't get out of my head. When my friend pitched the idea to me, he's like, you should do that. And I'm like, you know what? I think I will. So I pitched it to Lucasfilm, and it ended up being a trading card for a Star Wars Galaxy.
Which we're going to get into that discussion here in a little bit. Yes.
So that's what that is. That's the sorrowful pity of Darth Vader. It's meant to complement the Great Remorse of Darth Vader, and you've got Vader, Anakin, and Padme, then you've got Anakin and his mom. And I had an idea for a third one, and it's still on the back burner. I'll get to it someday.
Yeah, I mean, I love that one because it's almost, in a way, it's just like Anakin's just sitting there and he's like longing to die, but he's almost in the same way. He's like reaching out for his mother, and his mother's already there, and she's just like, what has become of you, almost, in a way,
Yeah.
It's
I mean, moving. I would think, like, I don't know. I thought of him as dying. He essentially is dying. Had Palpatine not come to rescue him, he would have died, right? So I think of him like, thinking of his mom as he's dying. I mean, that was, if it's not going to be just Padme, which of course, I did that kind of thing already in the previous piece. I'm like, well, I want to do a scene where Anakin's connected to another figure that's tied so essentially to his origin, of course, his mother. And my idea for the third one was it involves his son Luke. So that would be the third piece that goes in that series if I ever get to it. So.
I can't imagine what that one's going to be like.
Yeah. One of the other pieces that I wanted to bring up, and you had talked to us, me, Jungle Jedi, and Battle Packs about this. I'm gonna bring these up because I actually kind of really like the concept of these. Everyone else in Carbonite. I thought these were really, really cool. So you have, C-3PO, Chewbacca, Lando, Leia, Lando's
Lobot.
Lobot. Thank you. Couldn't think of his name. Luke, R2. Like
Wampa.
all these different
Wampa.
people in here. Like, what was the concept and the idea behind that?
Yeah, I think we talked about this at Denver
little
Fan
bit.
Expo when you saw some of this artwork in my portfolio there. So this was much older artwork, probably I think it was like from like 2010 or something. But essentially, I was hired by, or no, it was just before Disney bought Lucasfilm. So this would have been 2011 to 2012 in that area that I did this art. But basically, I was hired to do. I was doing a lot of work for Topps. I still am, doing Star Wars art for them. But these were images that were going to be die cut trading cards for an Empire Strikes Back anniversary set. I think it was for the 30th anniversary, or was it 35th anniversary? I can't remember. Might have been 35th, but it was an Empire Strikes Back trading card set that Topps was putting out, and they asked me to do illustrations of. There were like 20 characters I think I had done in total, and they were all going to be in so basically everyone except Han Solo. They wanted to see other characters in Carbonite, and when they pitched this idea, I was like, well, I don't know if Lucasfilm's going to go for this, but okay, but they got the approval. Lucasfilm agreed to it, and they were going to be die cut trading cards. So like as tall as trading cards, but they were going to be skinny. So a little skinnier than actual, trading cards. But then it was like an insert set. So, you might find one of these if you buy a pack of cards. You have to collect all 20 to complete the set. And they were going to be foil embossed. So they look like Carbonite, but they're actually going to be reflective, right?
So cool. Those would have been so cool.
This was all planned out by Topps. So I did the artwork, it's colored, it's done. I send it in. And I'm like, oh, this will be a really fun project, just seeing all these different characters in Carbonite. But Disney had just bought Lucasfilm, and so everything had to get reapproved that was in the pipeline. And like the timing was so poor for this. For one, I didn't even think it was going to happen. But then Lucasfilm's like, oh yeah, we love the idea, do it. And then the artwork had to go back through approval channels, and Disney literally just bought Lucasfilm. So they had to put their fingers on things at the time. And they were just like, no, we don't like this idea. We don't want these cards to come out. So I got paid for the project, but it just never happened. It never got published in the trading card set.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah, it was fun to do. I mean, they would have been cool to actually have those little foil cards, but
yep.
It'd be cool if they just bring that back. They could do it at any moment now, They could try to get it approved again. I feel like that would go so hard. Like,
yeah, I mean, I
would base the heck out of those.
I mean, Disney's really, they're really cool to work with on and I think they definitely lightened up a lot. I think it was just the fact that they, at that moment, they had just got the license and they wanted to, they wanted to have a say in everything that was coming out at the time. So it was just, unfortunately, that one they just decided to pick on. Like, no, which was funny because I didn't think Lucasfilm was going to give it a green light anyway. I thought it was kind of a crazy, like, oh, really? They're going to approve this? Okay. But ended up not coming out. So, yeah,
that's wild. So let's talk about this top Star Wars stuff now. So, Jungle Jedi has been doing it for a lot longer than I have, as far as breaking cards and breaking stuff. Just breaking things in general. He likes to break things. No, I'm just kidding.
I listen to Limp Bizkit a lot.
But like I started breaking myself some different cards and stuff and sets. So talk us through that experience of getting to start doing top Star Wars cards. What was that like?
Yeah, that's been really cool. So in college, being a Star Wars fan, being a Star Wars art fan, collecting Dark Horse comics even. But I grew up on the Star Wars trading cards as a kid. Like I still have them, my collection in the garage with all my all my old Topps movie cards. But in college, there was Star Wars Galaxy, which was like an all art set that featured like all comic book artists.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of that set, because some of my favorite comic book artists were doing Star Wars, and they don't, people like Mike Mignola and Walt Simonson did Star Wars, but I mean, there were artists that, even newer artists like Joe Quesada and some of these guys who never had done Star Wars, and they were getting to do Star Wars trading cards, but illustrations and stuff. So I was a huge fan of Star Wars Galaxy as an all art set. So in 2004, Topps hired me to do the very first Star Wars sketch card set, which was for Clone Wars, the micro series Clone Wars, and that set was coming out in 2004. And sketch cards were brand new at the time. Like, I think Marvel did a set in 2001 for a Daredevil sketch card thing. I remember seeing Daredevil sketch cards in 2001, but it wasn't a big thing back then. But when Star Wars entered the chat and Topps started doing sketch cards for their Star Wars sets, sketch cards blew up. So they hired me to do sketch cards for them in 2004. It was mostly Dark Horse Comics artists who were doing the sketch cards. It was like Dark Horse Comics artists and Jendi Tartakovsky, who was the creator of the Clone Wars micro series. He does Samurai Jack and everything.
Wait, he actually had cards in there that he sketched?
Yeah, he did a limited number of cards, and I actually pulled one myself. I pulled a Jendi Tartakovsky Yoda.
That's
Yo,
I ended up selling it for like $800 because I was a poor. I'm not rich now either, but back then I was even less rich, or more poor, I should say. But I was the only artist who wasn't at the time a Dark Horse artist yet, and I wasn't Jendi, so I was just a Star Wars illustrator, and I got invited to do this set, and that just led to me doing more sketch cards for the next set and the set after that. But then in 2008, they brought back Star Wars Galaxy, which was that all art set, and this would have been their fourth incarnation of it. Now they do it every year. They have a Star Wars Galaxy set every year, but they skipped it for a while. Then Topps brought back Star Wars Galaxy, and I got to contribute some brand new illustrations for that set. I got to do the foil puzzle, which was this big, I think it was 6 cards total.
Yep.
But you collect them all, put it together, and it makes a big image. Oh yeah, there's some of the Clone Wars sketch cards. I did like 1,000 sketch cards for that first set. I'm not even kidding. I literally did 1,000 sketches.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I got paid peanuts.
I remember seeing too, like the Revenge of the Sith sets. Like they're all one of one sketches, but they're
they're all
similar in style. So it's like there was like 4 Obi-Wans that I saw. Like some of them are a little further along than others, like stuff like
that. Because we had they offered me 1,000, and I was like, oh, if I draw 1,000 sketch cards, I'll make this much money. So I agreed to it. Little did I know, like, oh my God, a few days into it, I'm sketching and I'm like, I just started repeating a lot of the sketches. So I'm like, oh, I'll draw another battle droid, because they're really easy to draw. So these were back when sketch cards were just sketches, like quick, very
actual sketches.
Yeah. Now they're way blown out of proportion. It's like a pissing
they're crazy
contest,
Yeah.
But
that is crazy.
But and I mean,
speaking of, who just rolled into the chat?
Yo.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I know Kevin. Okay, nice. So sketch cards, every set, the artists would try to outdo each other. Especially a lot of us Star Wars artists, we all knew each other, right? Because we were doing other similar things for different studios, and some of us was like, oh, did you see that person's cards? Wow, they really up their game. It's like, okay, well now I got to up my game because I don't want to look mediocre. And eventually you get artists started doing full color. I'm like, guys, we're only getting paid $1.50 for these sketch cards. Like, that's it. And you have artists doing full color paintings. And I understood why, because they want the attention. They want to get their artwork out there. They want to be seen. And I did that too early on in my comic book career. I drew comic books for practically peanuts, but yeah. So I did raise my game, definitely. I feel like I'm kind of responsible because in the next set, the second Star Wars sketch card set, I actually only did like 50 cards, but I spent more time on each one. So I started to, and it wasn't because other artists were doing that. I just decided, oh no, I'm going to make these cards nicer now. But then everyone started doing it, and people just started like competing. So
That's sick.
it's sketch cards are a whole other thing now.
So it's Joe's fault that we're where we are with it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's Joe's fault that we got to pay $250
Oh, I mean,
for a
it was-
decent sketch card.
We're talking 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
Star Wars Heritage was the second set, Star Wars sketch card set, and that was the one where I started to, but I wasn't doing 1,000 cards either. I was like, oh, I can take my time, but
Yeah.
I mean, it escalated very quickly.
Yeah. Kevin says hello, Joe.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you here.
So, Jungle, you're getting ready here to go to the Nationals. Are you going to be there, Joe? The National Card Show in Chicago here in a couple weeks?
No, I'm not going to be at that one. I haven't done a card show in a while, but no.
Okay. So, this guy, Mr. Jungle Jedi, is for the Star Wars night, or the trade night. Sorry, he's got a table, and right now he's working on sketch cards. So it's funny it's funny that you're talking about this because he's like hardcore working into sketch cards right now.
I mean, I still do them too. I take when I occasionally have time. Like I don't mess with them as much now because I'm just too busy with other stuff. But I still enjoy doing them, and I'll do them as commissions. But I think the last set I did was a few years back, and like I'll do like 25 or 30 cards. I'll usually do them like fully rendered grayscale. I won't do full color. I'll kind of save those for my APs. But that just means because it'll make my APs worth a little more if I do them that way. But no, that's awesome that you're doing sketch cards, man. Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much only doing color for this set, like what I'm working on for what I want to sell at the Star Wars trade night. I'm only doing color stuff, and I wanted to have way more, and I drew a bunch of outlines. I went through and outlined like 20 cards, and I was like, I want to do these, and then I want to have maybe like 5 more, and I think I only have like 4 or 5 cards done right now, and it's in like 2 weeks, and I'm like, now I'm actually hustling, and it's not because well, it's not because I didn't want to. It's just that I was so damn busy. Like I actually just finished. I quit my job at the gym, at the climbing gym. I worked in the climbing world for 15 years, and it just really wasn't. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I was like working towards getting out, like kind of the beginning of this year. And as I was preparing to go to Japan Celebration, I started streaming on Whatnot because I was like, my wife was like, oh, whatever money you can make extra, you can spend at Celebration, on whatever and autographs or whatever. And so I started doing that and hustling. And then I started drawing again because I realized really fast, like, oh, like sketch cards are a big deal. And I've been drawing for a long time. My dad's a high school art teacher, and grew up in the art room. We talked about this a little bit, I think, in Denver.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I drew my first one on just like in my sketchbook. I just drew like a Tonway and showed it to the stream, and everybody was like, draw more right now. And I was like, okay. And then I just started going, and then I started cutting like my own cards and doing some stuff. And then I had one of our friends, shout out Battle Packs, to make me my own PSCs. And
nice.
And so then, I started doing them. It's kind of like this funny progression. I progressed really fast, it looks like, and it's mostly just because I was like waking it up in my brain.
Right.
So I hadn't been drawing for a while. And then I got like more tools. So, when I went to Japan, I bought a new set of technical pens and Copics, and started diving into, and I knew I had a few of them, and I knew I really liked them. but I was like, I'm gonna buy them in Japan because they'll be way cheaper. So
Oh, that's right.
because they're Japanese.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like $2 a marker over there.
Oh, yeah, they're like $6 or $7 here.
Jungle, do you have any of your sketches next to you at all?
Yeah, I have a few.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
I don't have the thing that I just
I
finished.
wish I was at home. I could show the ones I got.
But so this is the one that's been done for a little while. This is the mall that I have done,
wow,
hiding
that's nice.
behind the dark saber there.
Yeah. Nice. I love it. That's great.
So I'm stretching myself in
photograph
a
you
few
took.
different ways. Huh?
Nice photograph you took.
So I did.
It's the photo realism. Yeah, I do that style too. That's a great K2.
Thank you. And so then I did this one in a sketchograph fashion to have Alan sign it at the bottom there.
Oh yeah, it's got
Yep.
Alan too.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, because he was in Denver, so
That's awesome.
I was like, I'm gonna do a sketchograph and have him sign it. And then I did this one of George recently. I'm still kind of maybe tinkering with it, but 76 George.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, it looks like him.
It's not bad at all, bro. I like that.
Yeah, that's good. You're on it. Yeah.
But I'm still maybe tinkering with him. I don't know. But I moved on. I kind of got to a point where I was like, I have to move on. Cool. But I've got at least 15 upstairs that I'm like that are in process. I kind of like did it in a way where I was like, I don't need as much like focus to be able to just get my outlines done. So like while I'm watching my daughter in the mornings, like I can do a few. And so
the way I approach when I have like a bunch of sketch cards to do is I'll do all the loose pencils, right? I'll kind of do everything in waves, right? And then I'll lay down my base tones in Copics or Prismacolors or whatever I have. Do like a wash of tones real quick on, again, just go down the line, just because oftentimes artists get caught up in rent ever and ever and ever. It's the same with comic books, right? Like if you drew a comic book like that, it would never get done. It would just be you're focusing on one panel at a time. So if you develop all the panels or all the sketches at once and just go down the line, do some loose tones, go back to the next, do the next layers of color. And then when you get to the stage where, okay, now I need to start inking these, start adding in the inks on each one. And that way it keeps them all looking consistent style-wise. Yeah. But also you're able to accomplish a lot more as opposed to just getting caught up doing one like all day long,
Yeah. Which I definitely get drawn into, and part of that's because I haven't done sets before, you know what I mean? And so that part of my brain is starting to work like that kind of factory mindset.
Yeah, right. It's an assembly line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I do have like some of those, but then it's like I was like, okay, I'm gonna dig into this one, and it's also because like I have a toddler too, and like so it's easier for me to work on one at a time, and because I can't have everything out, you know what I mean? that shit will just get destroyed, right. So like this is like my only little sacred space right here where it's like, but my drawing, I've just kind of set up in our guest room with my drawing table, and I'm like keeping the door closed, closing, and I've got stuff everywhere right now, but yeah, I need to figure that out. Maybe I'll have like another table that I bring in next to it and kind of, build that out.
Yeah, I went through the same thing, man. When I had my daughter when I was 25, when I was just breaking into this stuff, really getting, so it's the same thing. It was like when you have a toddler around and you have all this stuff, it's like, it makes it a little tricky to manage.
It makes it really hard because then you're like trying to keep her from getting into your Prismacolors, and they're really fragile. And like, dude, she got a hold of one the other day and just went kabloom and it just shattered, of course, into like 1,000,000 pieces.
I love it. Kevin says I do my sets that way too. All the pencils, then the inks, then the colors.
Yep. Yeah, it's that assembly line approach, which I learned from doing comics, because as a kid I would draw my own comic books, but then I would get more advanced in high school. I'm trying to draw my comics. I'm like spending all day on one panel, and I'm like, well, that panel looks great, but I still have all the rest of this page to finish. and you have to do a page a day, 22 pages in a comic, and a comic comes out every month, so how do you do that? I mean, it's like, oh, you just have to lay down the foundations, go back and add in some embellishment, and just kind of do everything in sections and waves and build it all up together.
Yeah.
Well, they're different mindsets, and I think that that's what helps it be efficient. Is that you have one mindset that you get into that allows for you to lay down your pencils and your outlines, move on, cool. This next one, move on, cool. But then you get into the laying down your inks, like what Kevin's saying, and even just before this podcast, I was literally doing that exact thing for one of my pencils. I was laying down the ink, and so now I'm like, oh, well, I'll just move on to the next one. And lay down because I have several pencils laid out. So I need to get into that, because then it's it's easier. You don't have to flip the switch to get into your coloring, right? But it's you can stay in that same headspace for 4 hours instead of having to switch.
Instead of having to shift gears every few hours or something, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
Well, as we wind down here, we said we'd keep it to about an hour. As we begin to wind down here, a couple more questions for you, and then we'll kind of talk about what we have coming up. First, obviously, like you said, you got started as a kid. So any artist aspiring to be, is there any kind of message that you would want to tell them, aspiring to be artists, or anything like that? Any kind of message to them?
I was lucky that I had very nurturing parents, very supportive parents, and that was what allowed me to kind of see a bigger picture at such an early age, where I knew what I wanted to do. So, I mean, I would even say a message to the parents out there that might be watching this, that if you encourage your kids and give them extra, encouragement and positive support, I mean, that's a huge help for young kids to develop. It's that positivity, which my parents had a lot of for me, almost too much, because as I got older, I started to think the world revolved around me, and it didn't. So, real life happens and kicks me in the butt, but still I land on my feet and go, okay, I know what I want to be. I know what I want to do. I believe in myself. I've had training. My parents paid for art lessons when I was a kid. But I mean, to artists out there, even like Jungle Jedi is doing, you just have to do it, even if you're not, it's easier to do when you're younger. It's kind of harder to do, because as you get older, you get more responsibilities. There's more bills. But when you're younger, you're able to take a little more risk, a little more chances, and you can maybe do those projects that maybe aren't paying anything or just paying very little, but just do them, because if you do them, the more you do, the better you get. It's like practicing, but also, I think you get more confidence, and you get your work out there, you get it seen. And now with the internet, I mean, I wish the internet did sort of definitely help my career in the early, or the late 90s, the early aughts. Just having my own website and getting my artwork out there, that was a huge benefit to my career at the time. But now, people can do artwork and get it out there. You can share it. You can have it be seen by companies and publishers. So just doing the art is the most important thing, regardless of how much it pays. If you can find encouragement from your parents, or your spouse, or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, I mean, it's hard to always make art when you're not feeling good, because it's so, I know it, a lot of artists struggle, with I'm not feeling good. I don't, you don't feel like creating, but sometimes you have to find ways to work around that, just to get it done, to get it out there, so you can actually have something to be proud of that will end up getting you, it'll end up opening more doors for you later.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good stuff. How about to Star Wars fans in general? Obviously, over the course of the last, 13 years now, there's been a lot of divisiveness and different things in the Star Wars community. what kind of message would you like to broadcast to the Star Wars community as a whole?
Well, I know like a lot of, especially older hardcore Star Wars fans are like, Disney Star Wars sucks, that kind of thing, and Disney ruined Star Wars. But that's not, to a lot of younger fans. They don't, they don't get online and read all the critical comments of the latest Star Wars show. They don't go online and complain. Star Wars isn't just about the older fans who happen to have a voice on the internet. Star Wars is for more than just that generation. So a lot of, like, for example, like a lot of kids who grew up with the prequels, I mean, they revere the prequels now. Guys like your generation, right?
Yep, 100%.
I mean, that was your Star Wars. Star Wars
Yep.
is always generational, always. So my generation, when we were seeing the prequels in our mid-20s, we were like, wait, what is this? This isn't George classic Star Wars. This is different. This is so different. Like a lot of fans didn't like the prequels when they came out.
Yeah.
But again, those movies aren't for critical thinkers necessarily. They're not for, they're not meant to be picked apart. They're meant to be felt, and they're meant to be enjoyed on a more primal level in ways, a more mythic level. So a lot of fans, I think, don't get that. Well, yeah, maybe not all Star Wars is going to speak to you, but it does speak to so many other generations. So you can hate on it all you want, but I mean, I know for a fact that there are kids that I meet at conventions all the time, and I do a lot of conventions, and they love Rey. They love Kylo Ren. They love these characters. This is their Star Wars. In 20 years, when they grow up and they have wallets and they have spending money and they have a voice, they're gonna show, like, that nostalgia is gonna come back, and that Star Wars is gonna get revered as well. But so it's always, it's always a Star Wars that we grew up with that matters the most, and that's totally fine. But with Lucasfilm being, it's not as a big, before, if Disney hadn't bought Lucasfilm, we wouldn't be getting all this Star Wars content. With George retiring, Lucasfilm was a small studio. Like, it wasn't, it's not like a giant movie studio necessarily. So it was an independent studio. So with George retiring, there's no way we would have gotten all this other great content like Star Wars Rebels, the rest of Clone Wars, Andor, some of these, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka. I mean, yeah, there's not everything is going to be the cream of the crop, especially when you're pumping out this much content. But we've had some great stuff to go with it too. So the fact that Disney came in and bought Star Wars, that allows Star Wars to be nurtured and to exist into the future. Like, we're going to get 50 more years of Star Wars content just because Disney, is able to nurture it. But had they not bought it, we could just talk about the classic movies all the time, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that bothers me too, being a Lord of the Rings fan, is like, we have Star Wars fans over here whining and complaining that they don't like stuff. It's like, at least you guys are getting something. Like,
right,
Lord of the Rings is done.
Right, exactly.
Well,
it's
they are doing new movies, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
they're the hunt for
what they're allowed to do with the
I mean, New Line is like, we got to cash back in on that Lord of the Rings money. So
right,
Andy Serkis is going to be doing a new Lord of the Rings trilogy that they're making up. But yeah. But I know what you mean.
Well said. So as we close, talk about some of the things you're going to be doing. I know we're going to be able to all see you again at Rebel Scum Con.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be sick.
Bother you every day.
Yeah.
You'll be surrounded by scum
and banthas
and villainy.
Yes, I love it. So talk about some of the things that you got coming up other than Rebel Scum Con.
So yeah, Rebel Scum Con is coming up. That's a big Star Wars show in Dallas or Frisco, Texas, coming up in August. But before that, I'm actually going to be in San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con International next week. So that's a big
Massive.
one. That's like
Yeah.
the Super Bowl of Comic Cons.
And that's the one that George Lucas just got announced at, right?
Yeah,
For that
they're-
panel. Yeah.
He's doing a panel for his new museum that's going to be opening in Los Angeles. So yeah, it'll be cool that he'll actually be doing his first Comic Con. And he'll be there. I'll be stuck at my booth selling my art, so I won't get to go to the panel. But that's okay. But yeah, I'll have 2 new posters coming out at Comic Con next week for the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. So I did 2 new posters with Lucasfilm, one spotlighting Yoda and the Battle of Kashyyyk, and the other one spotlighting General Grievous and the Battle of Coruscant. So they're exclusive posters to Comic-Con. There's only 100 of each. They're 18 by 24. They're fine art Jaclay posters, so they're actually like art prints. So yeah, you'll see. I think if Morgan brings them up, you'll get to see what they look like.
Maybe. There we go.
Maybe. There we go. Oh, there's Yoda. So that one will be available at my booth at Comic-Con in San Diego, and my booth is 4300 4300. The art of Joe Corroney. My booth is right in front of the Hall F doors. I think it's Hall F and G, but when you walk in those doors, you'll see my booth. But yeah, that's the Battle of Kashyyyk with Yoda, and that one's limited to 100 copies. That one's available at my booth for $50. And it's 18 by 24 inches, so it's a nice size. And then the other one is the Battle of Coruscant with General Grievous and the battle droids. And that one will be available at the Lucasfilm booth. I think that one's only $35. So that one will probably sell out pretty quick, I think. Hopefully.
I think they're both probably going to sell out, brother.
I'd love for both to sell out. Yeah, that'd be awesome if they both sell out.
Those are, yeah.
But I know there's a lot of Grievous fans out there. And there's a lot of Yoda fans too, but
yeah, absolutely. We got real quick before we leave here. Nintendo Dude says this was an epic podcast. Appreciate it. Don't forget, subscribe. We always appreciate the subscriptions. Jeff says Joe will trade art for Tauntaun rides at SDCC.
Jeff gave me a Tauntaun ride at San Diego one year. I hopped on his back and he carried me around. It was
That's
awesome.
Hilarious. Nintendo says Joe keeps leaving us for Comic-Cons.
Yeah, that's that's my girlfriend's son, so he's sad that I'm leaving.
Oh man. All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. We look forward for Jungle and I seeing you again in about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
For Wrath of Mandalore, it'll be the first time.
Say, ain't no way I'm getting left out of this one again.
No.
Yeah,
I'm saying again, we'll get to see him again. This will be your first time meeting him in person. So
Right.
It's not all that, trust me.
It's pretty sick.
He's all that.
I love it. Appreciate you guys being on here. Joe, thank you again so much for your time. We look forward to it. We'll have you on again. We'll have to have you on again sometime.
Anytime. Yeah, let's talk about whatever the newest Star Wars thing is. So
I love it. Love it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And remember, the Force will be with you always.
thanks, guys.